Good evening, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. Myself, Gausia. I'm the host for today. Let us begin. Yeah. A warm welcome to everyone to this pleasant evening. Today, we have an interactive session with Mr. Pullela Gopichand, sir. It's an honor to have such an accomplished sportsman among us. Thank you, sir, for accepting the invitation. I extend a warm welcome to our co-founder, Srinivas TR, sir, who has been a true motivation to the entire team. I am overwhelmed to welcome our director, Dr. Shankar UV sir, who is a great pillar of support and a great inspiration to all our students and teachers as well. I welcome our most prodigious principals, Venkateshan sir and Jayapriya ma'am. A hearty welcome to all the lovely facilitators and charming students. There are people who strive to be best version of themselves, and then there are some who inspire others to be better. Former badminton player for India, Pullela Gopichand sir, has been both an aspirer and an inspiration to many. A winner of the prestigious All England Championship, Gopi sir wanted to give back to the sport, this time in the capacity of coach. Having trained world-class badminton players and Olympians like PV Sindhu, Saina Nehwal, Shrikant Kidambi, just to name a few. Gopi sir was awarded the Arjuna Award in the year 1999, followed by the Dronacharya Award in the year 2009, and the third highest award a civilian can receive in India, the Padma Bhushan, in the year 2014. It's an absolute honor to have him amongst us. Most welcome, sir. Now, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Gausia. And very good evening to the entire team at the sports school, to our principal, the management, Srini. I think to all the students, it's really lovely to be here. I'll just share a bit of my own journey into sport and a bit of philosophy of why I think sport is very important. And also we could use some of the time to take some questions as well. For me, I have been in sport right from 1985. So that makes it close to about 36, 37 years in sport continuously. Literally every day of my life in the last 37 years or so I've got up and gone to the stadium to play or to train or to get trained. I think that's something which has been incredible, a journey which I feel very, very satisfying about. My own perspective of sport has changed over time. In the earlier times, initially, it was all about winning. It was about doing better than the other. And it would mean that I would get up every day morning, try to be competitive. I wanted to be better than the people. I wanted to be winning all the time, and I was very, very competitive. I finished my coaching playing career and I started coaching. And also the same perspective has taken up. But today, when I look at sport, I look at a very different picture. I look at, after spending so much time in sport, I realize the value of sport is immense. And for everybody who's here at the sports school, I think it would be like preaching to the choir, because people are here in the sports school because they believe in sport. But still, I would reiterate the point about sport and why it is important. Education is something which we've been doing over time. In the last few years, we as a country have grown alphabetically and numerically. We are more literate in an alphabetical sense. More people can read and write than ever before. But it is also true that less and less number of people are physically literate. And it happens that our parents seem to be fitter than us, and our grandparents seem to be fitter than our parents. And it is sad and a real story that our younger kids and the younger generation is less fit than us. So I think sport is important from that perspective of health and basic fitness. But what I'm telling you or trying to share with you is not something related to even this. I think of sport as a very normal thing. I think forget about us being in a sports school, but think of sport as a career, as an opportunity. Look at what we are seeing. Out of 100 people in the education segment, maybe in bad schools, maybe 50, 60% pass, but in the best schools, almost 100% of them promote and get passed. I think the Jain school could be an example where there'll be 100% pass rate most of the times. And in many schools, that is the case. Education is about people passing. But imagine sport, what it does. Out of all the people who play, a very small percentage win. It is almost that maybe 1% of the population is actually winning or getting a chance to represent at the world level or win medals at the Olympic level, maybe 0.1%. So, what happens to the rest of them? I think that's a very important side of the story we need to understand. The sport teaches us about failure like nothing else. And nothing else teaches us about failure, almost literally nothing else other than sport teaches us about failure. And I think that is very important in life. Imagine if you're an educational setup, if you come from a rich family, you will never get any lessons about losing or not getting what you want in your childhood or in life. But when you grow older and when you are actually faced with the reality of defeat, you actually are not equipped to handle that. I think that is what sport should be played for. I think we all play sport to aspire to win medals at the Olympic level, and we want to win medals at the national level. But in reality, I think what teaches us is about being great human beings. And I would share some very, very simple examples. And I'm not even talking about good coaches, good infrastructure, the best world-class sports science center. The ones we have at the sports school is not what I'm talking about. Just think about very generic sport and what it offers. If 10 kids are supposed to play something, they go out in the open, and some say that let's play football. Some is saying, no, no, let's play cricket. Somebody saying, no, no, let's play kabaddi, let's play basketball. And each of them says a particular game. So if somebody comes up and says, forget about everything, we'll play hide and seek, or let's say chore police. Imagine each one is trying to put their side of the story in front of you. They're trying to communicate and tell you what they think is good. And it your communication skills are developed. But also it might happen that the team might decide that it's not what you like. You want to play football, but somebody wants to play cricket. And everybody decides to play cricket. And that is what happens in life. Not all of the decisions which you want go your way. You have to participate in things when even if you think that this is not the right thing or the thing which you want to do. But that is what life is about. So sports teaches about decisions. That is why we should play sport. Sport teaches us about failure more than anything else. I think every day, morning and evening, we're playing games, and every day there is disappointment, almost to the point that we feel it's hopeless and it's really bad to lose. But evening, we have to recover and come back and play again. Life lessons in life are taught in sport at a young age, and I think that is the reason why we should play sport. If you are in a football team, you realize that if you don't pass the ball to your teammates after this first day's game, nobody is going to take you in a team. Sport teaches you about teamwork, and it has literal live examples on the ground which it teaches. So it's very important. It teaches us about team building, it teaches us about decision making. You cannot keep the ball with you and decide after a while, I will pass it. You have to make that decision now. And I think that is what is important in life, decision making. You evaluate the options quickly and you take a decision, right or wrong. Decision making is important. You can't keep a file on the table forever. I think that is what sport teaches us. So there are a lot of things which actually sport teaches us: the discipline, the respect, the excellence, the food habits, the resting periods, the way to handle your emotions, the way to handle pain and overcome it. All of those are very, very important components in actually you becoming a person. And this is very important. In all my life, in the journey which I have seen people and even my own life, I think sport is taught me or made me, and I value that contribution of sport to me as a person more than the medals it has done, because thankfully I have a career in sport. But even if not, I think the way sport has influenced me, I'm sure we would have been very, very successful in anything I do, because sports teaches you all these values which are very important in life: to deal with conflict, to deal with and overcome fear and doubt. I think these are very, very important things in life which sport teaches us naturally, without without having to go through lectures. I think it happens on the field, and these lessons are imbibed as strong characters into our upbringing, which is very, very key for all of this to happen. I think for that reason, we have to play sport. I think a lot of us will be wanting the sport, the, the winning percentage in sport is maybe 5%, and probably at the highest level, it's even less. Does it mean that the 95 people who failed are failures? No. I think everybody who participates in sport in its true spirit is a champion. And I think that is what is important. The very process of becoming a champion is itself beneficial. It is in some ways more beneficial than even becoming the champion, because that seed potential which you make out of it makes you a true champion. The values which sport imbibes in you by the age of 17 or 18, having gone through this training, will be of such immense value to you that no matter what you do in life, you will be successful in that. And that is the reason why we need to promote sport in our country. in the bargain, if we win medals for our school, for our university, for our state, for our country, it is great. I think we all will rejoice and be very happy about it. But in the end, I think the reality of sport is that it's much more beneficial for you as a person. And I think the process of building a champion is what makes you the champion. And I think that element is something which we need to really look up to. Um, from the spirit of my own journey, I think I've been very fortunate that I have had coaches who have really shaped my life. My first coach, and this is where I come with my coaching philosophy as well, because I do believe that God's been so kind that he he sent me coaches at the right time who taught me the right things. My first coach was Hamid Hussain sir. Hamid Hussain sir never really taught me how to hold the racket in the sense, or who to make footwork or to play badminton this way. But I think the most valuable thing he did was he made me love the sport. He made me want to come back to the stadium every morning. And I think that was very, very important. So, as a grassroots coach, whatever today I teach, my role model is Hamid Hussain sir. He just made me love the sport. He made me come to the stadium with a lot of love. I think that is very, very important. My second coach was Arif sir. Arif sir was the most disciplined person. And for me, his discipline was very, very important, because at a time when you're 15 and 16, I think discipline and to structure training and to actually be precise, I think was very important. And thanks to him, I have actually been able to imbibe discipline in my life. And the person who really could inspire us and to make me and make Indians in general think that we can achieve something at the world level was Prakash sir. And thankfully, he was there. And I have received a whole lot of advice, but also a whole lot of inspiration from what he has achieved. And I think that was very, very important. That inspiration was very critical growing up. And my coach, Ganguly Prasad, with whom I won the All England, was very important, because we could work together as a team and plot together. And I think that's how my later life of a player was evolved. It was more fun, it was more experimental, and it was really good that I could actually sit with him, plot together, and we could achieve great success. I think each of these coaches have huge influence in my journey. And also my two Chinese coaches, Wang Xiaomin and Su Yan from Germany. I think they were of really great value. Both taught me the value of hard work, discipline, and more importantly, the acceptance of failure. I think these are very, very important things. So I think this has been my overall journey in badminton, in sport. And for all of you, I think you should get up every day morning, have a smile on your face. You should enjoy the hard work. You should enjoy the food. You should enjoy the rest. You should enjoy the solitude. You should enjoy the pain in some sense, because it is so important that I think each one of us are really pushing and not feeling pain out of it, or because to be disciplined, hardworking, and to actually be all the time driven by competition is going to be difficult. We need to love what we do. We need to enjoy what we do. We need to be passionate about what we do. We need to be involved with what we do. And then this whole journey becomes a lot more fun. And I urge each one of you kids to actually take this up as a journey with happiness, with passion, with love, with liking, with involvement, with passion. And I think that is what I would really want you to see and go through this with a sense of gratitude that you're very lucky to have a body, you're very lucky to have the talent, you're very lucky to have this opportunity and parents to actually let you train in a place like this. I think that is the attitude which you should have. And hopefully, God willing, I think great things can happen. Um, Thank you, guys. Gosha, I'll stop here for a while and then maybe we can ask some questions.
Thank you very much for your valuable and inspiring words, sir. Indeed, our kids are very much inspired. Yeah, now our excited kids are very much willing to ask you few questions. May I invite Rhythm from BBA department to go ahead with the first question?
Hi sir, good evening. My name is Ridham Shah. I play cricket at the sports school. I'm also pursuing the BBA Sports Management program. I have a question for you, sir. How does winning and losing in a sport affect an athlete? Should it be perceived to be more than what it is, like just a result?
I think one example which I can give Rhythm is that when I lost at the Olympics, I thought it was the end of the world for me. And I started to be a lot more dispassionate about victory and success and failure, in some sense, victory and loss. Um, and when I started to play sport with a little more carefree attitude, that is when I started winning. So it is it is kind of a little difficult answer to understand in some sense, because on one side I'm telling you to push really hard, and on the other side I'm just telling you to be relaxed about winning. The reality of the scenario is you get up in the morning every day very charged up, very disciplined, very structured, very process oriented, to be to be more hardworking, to be more smarter, to be more clinical in your approach on the field. Um, when you pick up the food, you're perfect in the food. When you're sleeping, you're perfect in your sleep. In your thinking, you're perfect in your thinking. So everything needs to be perfect, and that is what you should aspire to the point that when you go into a match, you're saying, I have done what is humanly possible for me to win, for anybody to win. And if I win, I win. I lose, I lose. It doesn't really matter. The result should not be reflective of what you're doing. It should be that I am doing the process to the best possible way. And no matter what the result is, I don't care. I know it's hard saying this, because you might see somebody who's just fooling around and winning on the side, and you think that ये तो मस्ती कर रहा है, ये जीत रहा है, हम लोग इतना मेहनत कर रहे हैं, हार रहे हैं. But eventually this journey is not over for a few days in sport. It continues for many years in sport and for a lifetime, for 50, 60 years. So I think whatever you do, the process you follow, the analytic and the sporting mind you have will ensure that it brings success maybe later in life. So I think don't worry too much about the result. Just go back and focus on the process again and again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for that. Here we have Vaishnavi from grade 8 with another question. Vaishnavi.
Hello, sir. I am Vaishnavi from grade 8 and I play badminton. And I have a very interesting question from my side for you. So, my question is, you have coached and produced so many great athletes grounded, especially when you have achieved something globally. How would you express that on a grand stage, sir?
How would you?
One second, sir. Let me repeat. You have
Vaishnavi,
coached and produced. so many great champions. How do you keep yourself athlete grounded, especially when you have achieved something globally on a grand stage?
I think I think sports teaches you to be grounded in many ways. And if it hits you really hard if you're not grounded also, because as much as sport is about winning competition, it is about losing as well. You're going to fail for sure. And I think it's very important that if you're grounded, then you fall lesser. If you're flying too high, you fall much harder. So people realize that it is possible to hurt more if you fly too high. So people have it's safer to stay grounded all the time. I think that's what I would say. But in general, I think when you are thinking about the process and not really about the result, then I think you're not too worried about the loss, or you're not too elated about the victory. So you'll not fly and you'll normally be grounded, because you will start appreciating the work which you have, the blessings which you have, the talent and the genetic makeup you have, and you realize that not all of these things are your own. I think God's given it to you, and I think it's very important to appreciate those things. And when you are appreciating those things, you generally tend to be more humble.
Thank you, sir.
Nitish, you were willing to ask a question. Unmute, dear.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, sir. My name is Nitish. I study BBA Sports Management and I also play cricket in the sports school. So my question for you is, sir, can an athlete be an introvert and be extremely successful? As in, how important is it to communicate your ideas and express yourself, and how can a coach ensure that an introverted athlete is not left behind?
I think I've seen many athletes who are introverts and have been successful. So I don't think it's a problem being an introvert. And I've seen many of them being very introvert in some sense. So I think that is one, not a problem. But I think it's very important. One of the qualities which I've seen champions is that whatever is required to be done, they do it. And if you need to communicate at that point of time, they'll figure a way. And I think they will go through that point to get their point across. And actually, they do that at a time which is required. Now, the very process of sport is very a lot introvert, many senses, because a lot of introspection, a lot of solitude, a lot of singular focus is needed, and it ends up that you might end up actually doing a lot of things on your own. In the sense, you might be at the sports school, but you need to work for a little extra leg strength, or you want to improve your endurance. You might have to work beyond what the coaches have even told, or you might have to actually do more than what your other players are doing. So you might have to go to the gym alone. You might go to the track alone to run. You might have to ponder and understand why you're batting or fielding, or whether your badminton is not as good, and or why you won. So you might need to actually spend time in solitude and introspection. So on the outside, for sometimes it might look that people are introvert, but I do believe that it is not the case as much. And what I've seen in general is that people will start to express themselves when it is needed. But having said that, I think some of the times sport and elite sport does is make us very bad in a social circle, because many of us by an age of 10 or 20 would have gone to a birthday party maybe 20 times. met people randomly, relatives, friends, family, a lot more than what we have met, because we are living in a hostel life. We live very enclosed. We are only thinking about my food, my rest, my training, and my tournaments. And I think that takes us away from a social circle. So we might find to be a little uncomfortable outside when we meet people. I think I urge all of you young kids to actually break those shackles. I think when you feel uncomfortable, go for it. I think when you feel fear, break it. Because if you're going, if you're a batsman or if you're kicking the penalty shot, I think the fear which you get is also the fear which you get in an uncomfortable social circle if you're an introvert. I think make use of these times to also break those barriers of fear. And whether it's fear of taking a football shot, or fear of talking in public, or fear of facing friends and family in a social circle after going so long, I think these are all opportunities to actually break the fear barrier and take those on as challenges. Like you would think of running another sprint or lifting another weights. I think of these challenges as barriers and then break them wherever you can.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
If you're finding any of the answers, um, you want me to elaborate on it, please feel free to ask a follow-up question.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. We have Anurag from grade 6 who is willing to ask a question, sir. Anurag, please go ahead.
Hi sir, myself Anurag here. I'm from grade 6. I play tennis. I had a small question for you. What are some of the lessons that sports teach us that you can carry into our everyday lives and whatever avenue we choose to build our career in?
I think many of these things, Anurag, I've actually spoken, but in general, whether it's building team spirit, working with people, handling failure, taking decisions, or whether it's communications, or whether it's building your character, knowing people and respecting rules and regulations. I think many of these things have great value, and I think you may not be putting these things on a progress report at the moment. And I believe that there's an effort with the sports school. We're trying to do these things, but I think these are things which naturally come up by playing sport. And I think that's something which has huge value in our lives.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. We have Goutham here for next question. Goutham, please go ahead.
Hello, sir. I'm Gautam. I study in second PU and I play badminton. My question is, how does an athlete determine the right coach for him? And between compatibility and coach profile, what matters the most?
It's a very interesting question. I think one of the things you should, and it's a different kind of a scenario, Gautam. When you're young, you need to follow, and this is like faith. Say, for example, the coach is telling you, you believe me, and I'll show the way. And sometimes you want to say that you show me the way, and then I believe you. That's a little tricky thing, because unless you walk the path along with the coach, you might never find out what he's saying is true or not. So I think it's very important that trust your coach and give them time to deliver. think that's a very important thing, because you cannot on day one come out and say that you show me the results and then I'll follow you. It should be coaches telling you that follow me and I'll show you the results. So it's a very tricky thing. But I think good coaches are ones who don't tell you what you want to hear. They tell you what you need to hear. And I think there is a difference between that. I think it's very easy to like coaches who tell us good things. They might be sounding nice, but they're not helpful. So medicine is bitter, and coaches' words need to tell the truth, not always be telling you nice things. So be wary of coaches who are always telling the nice things, and also don't be afraid or don't disrespect or don't think it as negative if your coach is scolding you. It's very important to understand the value which he brings. I think that is something which you should look.
Thank you, sir.
Here we have Danay from grade 9 with another question.
Hello, sir. My name is Danay. I'm in ninth grade and I play badminton. My question is it important for an athlete to have a backup plan in case he doesn't make it into the sport he likes? Or do they need to just commit themselves into the sport completely?
I think it's very important to commit yourself into the sport and believe that it is important to keep pushing. But I think it's up to the school and the parents to have the backup plan. For you as a player to believe and trust yourself fully in. And the school and the parents do the backup job, and that's what the sports school will do. But I think it's important that you have to commit yourself 100% to the sport.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, there is another very exciting student among us, Reshma. Can you please go ahead?
Hello, sir. I'm Reshma Maruri. I'm doing BBA and I play tennis at the Rohan Bopanna Tennis Academy in the sports school. Sir, do you have any tips on how to perform well under pressure in the crucial situation and points, sir?
I think it's very important that you practice these things in matches, in practice. Like if your practice has to be like match situation, the intensity of practice has to be very, very high. You should actually try and do things 100% when you are practicing in practice. And you should feel the pressure as though it is a match in practice, so that every day you're training very, very hard. In a match, in fact, it has to be a little more relaxed. Go for the shots, say it's okay to lose, but focus on the right thing to do. In the end, in a match, I would want you to be aggressive. I want you to reach the shuttle or the tennis ball early and focus on the basics and play point by point, and don't carry too much of burden either of the score or of the result. And I think that will be very.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, all the students. So we have a few of our faculty members and the coaches who are willing to ask some questions. Sampath sir, could you go ahead?
Yeah, thanks, ma'am. Hi, sir. Very good evening. This is Sampath, badminton coach at the sports school. So my question to you, the first one from the coach's point of view, what is your mantra for coaching? And what is your advice for the coach to be successful in his career?
I think one of the biggest things as a coach, I would say, is that as coaches, leaders, we don't have the option of making a mistake. That's very, very important. So we live in a glass house, so to say, that cannot make mistakes. That's one. I think look at each kid as talented and try to push each one of them to be better. And I think that is something which I would really want to do. Forget about the result. Go into training sessions thinking that today I have these kids who have to benefit from this session. And I think that's what you should be looking at each and every day. And they should be happy training.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Adding to this one, sir, from coach's point of view again. So how do we need to communicate or interact with the players during their competitive matches, sir? So like giving small tips or short pep talks during the breaks or intervals in each set.
See, normally what I've realized is everybody wants to win.
Yeah.
There's nobody who needs a pep talk to win, typically. Everybody is super charged up to win. Many of the times it is that we need to calm them down and make them understand what is the reality and make them focus on the process and focus on the technical things, which is the tactical kind of advice which is needed. So I think more than a pep talk, it is actually reminding them of the process and the tactics with what important.
Right, sir. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, sir. May we have a question from the faculty side? Ma'am.
Good evening, sir. So you rightly said that we are carving a path for all our students with the backup plan. So I was a bit curious to understand because sports and academics goes hand in hand. So during your difficult times or other days, how have you balanced sports with academics?
I think my mom was very tough. She said, unless I play, if I have to play sport, I have to get at least 70% marks. So that is what pushed me because I loved the sport too much. So I couldn't really let my studies suffer. So I think that is something which helped me. In fact, what I would think is that we need to ensure that the players are really focused, enjoying themselves. But I think at the end of the day, discipline is what is very, very important. And whatever they do, they should be 100% involved in that. And that is what we should aspire to be. As a player, I have written an exam in my BA studying 3 hours for an entire year. I just wrote those exams and I passed and I got about 60% in it. So some of the things I do believe that players tend to grasp much faster if they actually have even a slight inclination. So I think the way we teach them would be important. And I think we need to brush their basics, as many of them would not know where to start from. So I think we need to take kids from zero is what I would think. But I really benefited from some good teachers who taught classes as stories to me, and that was very helpful.
So we are also trying, and that's why we have tried to get in these modules where we have tried to, connect sports and the various topics so that children are actually able to visualize what they are wanting to learn and what they have to learn. So we are trying to implement this so that all our kids enjoy even studying and taking it to that also to the next level. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Adding to ma'am, sir, I'm very curious to know like how integrated sports schools are a solution for holistic development and overall well-being of a child.
I think sport for me when I was playing sport, when I was coaching in the initial years, I thought sport was important for medals. But today, I believe that it is super important for everybody. And I think today, more than ever, I think everybody should participate in sport and go through the process of becoming a champion. It's not even becoming the champion, it's just the process of becoming a champion, which is so very important. So, for that reason, I would think that everybody should train like a professional athlete. And if you train like a professional athlete, whatever you do in life, you will be successful. You will be great entrepreneurs, bureaucrats, scientists, lawyers, journalists. I think anything, because sport can add value to whatever you do in life later on. I think for that reason, I think integrated schools with sport is very, very important. I don't know how many subjects we learn in school are really useful for us in academics in my childhood. I don't know how many things we learned in that time is useful, but the lessons which sport has taught us are super important. And those are the ones which are really useful for us today in a day-to-day life.
Yes, sir. Yeah, indeed. Actually, we the teachers at the sports school, like as we are trying to integrate the things, several times we have to like relate sports to the main subjects. So this will help us out a lot. So thank you so much. Yeah, we have Anirudh Aditya. Could you take up your question, dear?
Hi, Gopi sir. Good evening. It's indeed an honor and a privilege to interact with you face to face. And thanks for the sports school for this opportunity. I am Prasad Reddy, father of Anirudh Aditya, who has been with the sports school playing lawn tennis. My question, sir, to you that normally the athlete goes to training session. Suddenly, no, he gets injured, and my question is how, in those circumstances, how the athlete should cope up mentally, because they suddenly if he falls injured, no, then he has to do a lot of backup academically as well as his training wise. So there will be a lot of stress and also stress on his supporting team.
Sorry, Mr. Anirudh, I can't hear you very clearly.
Oh, my question, sir, is just if an athlete suddenly falls injury, then how to cope up mentally, sir? Because he always has that stress, know how to back up his how to back up his academics and his training schedules, because suddenly fallen injured, no. So how to cope up in those circumstances?
I think injuries are a part of sports person's life. Some sports have it a little more than the others. Some people have it a little more than the others. But I think in general, um, injuries in sport are very common. For me, I've had 4 knee surgeries, 3 of them when I was 20, 22, and 24 back to back. I've had 3 knee surgeries, and I had another one when I was 28. So I've had my share of problems dealing with injuries. Uh, Two things which have really helped me was one, just focus on what you can do and not on what you cannot do. I think that was very, very important for me. And the second thing, as a comfort, I would like to say that the muscle memory is good. We do not lose out on how to play. It is just the fitness which goes down. So whatever can be done to maintain fitness is very, very important. And I would think that whenever you're or whatever part of the body you're injured, when you come back, the rest of the body should be stronger, and also the mind should be stronger. And I think that is the time when you have to focus on both of them. I think this has been my personal experience, and I think it's okay, and you have to treat yourself like like a warrior or a boxer or a who falls down and comes back each time with the same force. I think that is what is very, very important of these kids. I think injuries, don't worry. Uh, then the second thing is patience. It's not so much about hard work. It is about patience. I think if the doctor tells you, if your physio tells you, if your coach tells you, you feel that you're not ready, back off, get stronger. And as much as hard work is important, I think patience is even more important. And don't do any stupid things. I think that's something which I would say for people who are injured. You're almost about to recover, and then you go early because you can't wait for 2 days. You're playing, have an ankle problem, but you just want to go and play some other sport and then sprain it. So I think those kind of simple mistakes you should not do.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, sir, I thought Anirudh is a student there, so so I had said dear for that. Apologies, sir. Yeah, thank you for all the solutions, sir. It's been a great help. Yeah, as we actually, Nitin sir is willing to ask a question.
Good evening, Gopi sir. Hello, am I audible, sir?
Yeah, yeah. Good evening, Nitin.
So before the question, I am very, very excited to talk to you. I'm a huge fan of you, sir. More than the question, I feel privileged to talk to you first of all. That is the one thing that I wish to do.
Thank you,
And
Nitin.
thank you so much for being in TSS. And the match I watch, your match against Peter Geda 2001 semis, I watch now and then. I mean, I think I watched like some 50, 60 times. Now and then I keep on watching that signature move you did against him. His signature move, that was like epic. Thanks for being born in India. Make us proud. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Nitin.
And the first thing I saw in you is your patience, sir. You're so patient. And this patience, kids and we teachers need. So can you give some tips for that? Everyone needs this kind of patience, the way you're talking from that time. See, the way I'm excited talking to you, I want that to happen in me and for kids and everyone, all teachers and students. So can you give me some tips for that patience, what you have got?
I think for each one of us, it would be different things. For me, I've been very fortunate that I was um, very early in my life initiated into yoga and meditation a bit. Even when I was in Bangalore, I would spend time at Sri Ashram, Art of Living. So I think yoga, meditation, or whatever ways in which you can make yourself calm would be very important. So that the whole effort of sport is to make each move consciously, in the sense to be mindful of what you're doing. So you could do a simple arm rotation, but also do an arm rotation where you're very mindful of it.
Okay.
You're very focused on each and every exercise which you do. You could do a simple trunk rotation or an ankle rotation, but there is a way of doing where you're totally immersed in it. You're playing sport where you're totally immersed in it. When you're talking, you're totally immersed in it. When you're eating, so the very exercise of sport is to immerse yourself in it. And when you do such things with total commitment, and initially when I spoke about passion, love, but I also spoke about involvement, being attached to it. I think that is very, very important. So I think whatever you do, it is very important to stay totally with it. And when it does happen, you not only are getting better results, but the journey becomes very enjoyable.
Okay. Thank you very, very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Now, as we come to the conclusion of the session, let me just propose the vote of thanks. Yeah, on behalf of the sports school, Extending a special thanks to Gopi sir for accepting our invitation and for being here with us today and spending a lot of time with us. Your thoughts have truly inspired us, sir. We hope to see you soon in our campus. Thank you, Shankar sir and Srini sir, for always being a pillar of support to us and extending a heartfelt gratitude to our principals, Venkateshan sir and Jaypriya ma'am, for their support. And heartfelt thank you for all the students and teachers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.